All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. Please subscribe. We're going to be doing quite a big job, and I might put it all in this one video, and I'll probably break down a few smaller things, but in separate videos. But for now, today and probably the next couple of days, because there's no shop open to press the bearing, I'm going to be doing the bearings. I'm going to be doing the lower control arm with the ball joint, and I'm going to be doing the CV axles on this thing in preparation for getting a new set of tires on it so I don't chew up my new tires. And I'm going to walk you guys through that procedure. To start, you want to throw it up on your jack stands, be safe. And then that right there, I've got a 3/4 socket on there, but there should be a millimeter equivalent to it. I want to say about an 18 or a 19. So I'm going to buzz these rims off real quick. Notice the wheel lock key, pretty snazzy, huh? And we're going to get into this job. Quick tip for doing the wheel locks. What I found is the easiest is put the lock on there, get it snug, then put your gun on there and buzz it off. And just like that, easy peasy. Alright, let's see what we got. Alright, we got the front tires off. I'm going to show you why I'm doing this job before I put new tires on this car. Look at that. Look. No telling. That could go any day now. I hit a bump wrong and that tire could go. Same thing with that one. So those things are shot. I'm going to rotate them onto the back when I do this, so that way I'm at least safe to like drive to the tire shop or the store and back if I have to do that. But I just wanted to point that out as to why it's important to make sure you've got good front end pieces going on in proper alignment so you don't chew up your tires. So let's come over here and we'll see what I'm replacing today. So I'm going to have to take this off. I'm going to have to take the axle nut off. Calipers come off. I'm going to have to probably take bottom ball joint off, top ball joint, and tie rod because I have to pull the spindle and the hub. And then the whole strut spring assembly is coming out, the whole, and the boot and everything, and the CV axle's coming out. So basically all this stuff is coming out, getting replaced or refreshed, and going back in. Almost a complete front end job. But the one thing I'm kind of curious about how it's going to go is that back there, because I've never done a lower control arm on one of these, but I can see the bolt. That gives me hope. So we'll see how this goes, but I gotta knock all this apart real quick. All right, so got the brake caliper off. That was too... Fuck me. All right, so we got the brake caliper off, and that was just two 17 millimeter bolts, or caliper and bracket, I should say. Take the 17 millimeter bolts off the back of your caliper bracket, pry it just a little, and the whole thing comes right off. Your rotor should have screws in there. Mine don't right now because they weren't on there the last time I did the job, and I didn't know I needed them the last time I did the job. And then I didn't put them on there, and then I realized what I did by the time I got to the back, and the back has them. But not that you guys needed to know all that. But anywho, so right now, before I get too much farther, oh yeah, and what you're going to want to do is to get some more freedom with this. There's two 10 millimeter bolts. You just unbolt the little bracket holding the line and just bungee it or tie it up to your upper control arm up there if you're not taking that out, which I'm not. Just the strut and all that assembly. So right after this, I'm going to get loose here and under here where my ball joint is there, and then probably take, well actually first I'm going to take loose this nut, then I'm going to get loose those nuts, and then probably my top there, and then I think after that I'll be able to just pull this whole assembly off, pull my axle out, and start working on the strut, and we should be good to go. And I'll give you guys a little bit of an update on what you got to take out and what sizes you're going to need as we go. And then I should say this in the beginning of the video, but I'll also do an updated like tool list of what all you're going to need at the end of the video. So you guys stay tuned, please subscribe. Okay, so we're going to do the axle. You're going to need a 32mm socket, but if you notice, there's a little bit of wobble in that. I don't really care for, so I'm going to show you all what I call the rag trick. Now you can do this with a shop towel or a shop rag or literally any piece of fabric. Hell, you can probably wrap rubber bands around that thing. But I just happen to have one of my kids' old socks they've outgrown. Goes perfect over your deal. And that slack that was there, completely gone now. So now you can get on there without any worry rounding that bolt off. You get all the torque that you're meant to. Boom. Off. Off skis she goes. Easy peasy. Because if you don't have that on there, eventually these will start to round off. So it's really good if you want to take up that extra little bit of gap in a bolt when you're doing that, or a nut, excuse me, or any fastener really. But I just thought I'd show you all that trick for getting the nut off. Okay, so I got my nut off here, and then I took the cotter pins out and I loosened the ones on the top and the bottom ball joints, and they're all 17 or an 18. And then I came back behind here to where, let me see if I can get it to focus. There it is. The wheel speed sensor is right here, and that was just a 10mm to take that out, and that just pops right out. But let me see if I can get some good enough lighting here. If you can see, something's barely making contact with that sensor, which tells me that something inside this hub is moving. Because I've had bearings go out before, and sometimes when your bearing goes out, it'll just start skimming that sensor and just chew your ABS sensor completely up. And it'll throw you all kinds of crazy codes and make your vehicle think it's dying. But I wanted to go ahead and disconnect that, and then I'm probably going to do that all the way up. It looks like it's a bunch of 10mm all the way up to where it's disconnected from this spindle here. And then I should be ready to knock this axle and knock these ball joints loose. Take this whole thing out here in just a second. Hold on. Okay, the hub assembly is off. Got it set to the side there because I'm going to put the new bearing in it. Well, I'm not. A shop's going to press that on and off, do all that. I'm going to do this now. So I need to come in and I need to take this bolt out for the strut on the bottom. Oh no, do I need to? Yes I do. I'm going to take this bolt out for the strut on the bottom, and then this one for the top, and then everything on the, I'm going to have to open the hood and get under the hood to drop all that out. And then I'm going to drop the strut out, and then hopefully I can pop the spring off, or the CV axle. Once that's popped out, I'm going to take off the sway bar linkage, and this guy, Pitman arm looking guy, he's going to come off, and that should leave me the lower control arm fully exposed, in which case I'm going to get in there and get that out. So give me just a minute, we'll be right back with all that. Okay, so I got this guy off. That's over there. Now I can drop all that out once I go to the top and unbolt all that. But I haven't went up there yet. And now I can also pop this CV axle free at any time, which I'll probably do that next before I go do that up there. Then you want to pop this Pitman arm guy loose. I don't think you've actually got to unbolt it from in there, thank goodness, because I didn't really feel like messing with that plastic shield down there. But to get the sway bar end link off is kind of tricky. So if you come down here with me and you look, you'll see that, well, it's kind of hard to see, but right in here, there's the end of the nut. There it is. That's a good shot. And you can see it's got an Allen keyway on there. And if you don't have a right tool, that's a real pain in the neck to take off. So what I did is I came in straight at it with my wrench, directly straight on top of the bolt to hold it in place. Once I broke it free, of course, because it'll just sit there and spin. But once I broke it free, I went directly on top with my wrench like that to hold it in place. And then I took my Allen, and then just a quarter turn at a time, I turned that Allen so that it threaded the bolt off of there real slow. It's a pain, but it's doable without having to run to the store and buy any special tools, or learn how to do it the right way, consequently. If there is a right way to do that without any special tools, but I did it. So, okay. That's going to be it for just a minute. My buddy just showed up with the old 323 y'all are familiar with. So I'm going to take a break. Alright, a couple quick tips. The CV axle is pretty easy to get out. I just went in with that flat screwdriver, wedged in between the transmission and the axle, and it just popped out and I wiggled it out. And then I turned my attention to the strut itself, and you come up here to these top bolts, and you want to make sure you get these two brace bolts because they actually are a part of the strut. I made the mistake of just unbolting the 3 and trying to wiggle it for a little bit, wondering what the heck is going on. Nope, you actually got to unbolt the brace bolts here too, and it should just fall out like so. But now that's being held in by the upper control arm so it doesn't clatter out of here and make a big noise. But I'm going to do that when I've got 2 hands after I shut this off. So, making good progress on this side. I need to get over to that side here soon. Hopefully I can get it at least mostly apart by the end of the day. So, y'all keep watching. Alright, we're to the final piece we need to remove, this lower control arm. And this one wasn't even the bad one. The other side was really bad. I guess this one was just kind of bad. But I was all worried about, God, how am I going to get a socket or anything on there? Don't even worry about it, man. Don't trip. That is like welded on there. And as long as you can actually get a socket on the back of that with a cheater bar. But it wasn't even hard to break free. But once I got it off there, I just put my ratcheting wrench on there. And it's coming right out. Easy peasy. So, do that. Alright. See if we can get this sucker to come off on camera. Actually, give you guys a little action. Let me switch hands. Oh, terrible mistake. I'm left-handed. There we go. There we go. Come on. Aha. And it's out, guys. Easy as that. No special tools. No nothing crazy. All hand tools. The only thing, I use my big impact for the axle socket. That's about it. Other than that, it's all hand tools. And I did all this tear down in just a couple hours. And I took my time and went to go eat lunch and all that. So I'm going to go do it to the other side. And hopefully by Monday when the shop's open, I'm going to get these bearings pressed on and off. And have the rest of this ready for reassembly by then. And be done here Monday. But you guys won't know what day it is on the video. I'm just going to show you how to get it done and reassembled here pretty quick. Alright. Birds are chirping. It's the next morning. As you can see, we're on the opposite side now. And I've already got everything disassembled. And I am putting my control arm back in, which is not hard. 17 mil. Super easy. And then you're basically, I hate to be that guy, but you're basically just going to reverse procedure. You know, put your control arm back in, put your strut back in, put your CV axle back in, you know, get everything done that you can. And not that you guys know this, but today is a Sunday, so all the shops are closed that I need to use. But on Monday, I'm going to go to the alignment shop and have them press the bearing on and off of here, and I'm also going to have them do the new ball joint on and off of there That way that's nice and fresh on both sides. Since I've got all this tore apart anyway, I want it to be fresh for a long time. So those are going to be done tomorrow. I don't have the equipment to pull all that on and off. I don't feel like messing with it. So those are going to be done by a shop. Well, there's plenty of other good videos you can watch where if you want to go buy the tools, you can go do that, which I might do that in the future. Um, and once we progress farther along, there's another little trick I'm going to show you when you install the struts. You want to actually have a little bit of load on it, so I'll show you what you got to do for that. Oh, and when you install the sway bar link and also take it out, don't be a dummy like me and sit there and use this big thing. You can get a 14 millimeter box end on the end of that and turn that Allen key easy peasy. So don't make my mistake, because I am not a trained mechanic. I never went to school for this. Shh, don't tell anyone. So we're going to get a little farther along in the reassembly and we'll come back, okay? Alright, so I got the other side done and I got a couple of tips for reassembly. Starting with, put your CV axle in after your control arm, and then after you put your CV axle in, then you put your strut in. But before you put the strut in, you're going to want to look, and on the back of that strut, there's a little divot. That's where the bolt slides through. That's the clearance for the bolt to slide through right there on the back end. So you may want to take your fork here and just kind of slide it on and slide that bolt in and make sure it's in place while you fit your strut back up in there. And it just might make your world a little easier. Okay, we've come this far. Stick with me. So I've got the strut up in there, the CV shaft in there, and I've got the control arm on, the A-arm. And once you get the bolts in for this fork here, whoops, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your bumper jack on underneath of it and give it some upward force to simulate a load on the suspension. Then you're going to finish tightening your bolts. And I'm not sure if you do it with the top one, but since we're doing it with the bottom one, we're going to do it with the top one. So I'm going to tighten those down after I put just a little more pressure on there. Not a lot, just enough to kind of give you a bit of tension. And then just tighten them on there and they should be good to go. Okay, everything's tightened up. I'm going to let her down. Boom. See, there you go. Just enough pressure to put tension on the system, but not so much you want to start like lifting your car off the stands, because that'd be dangerous. Don't do that. Okay. All right, I'm going to do it to the other side, and I'm thinking I'm about to a stopping point because I can't get my bearings pressed today. So you're not going to know that because movie magic time, but we'll be right back. All right, we've got the new bearings pressed in the hubs. We've got the new ball joints on the bottom. Everything's just about ready to go. Except one thing I forgot to do. That control arm bolt in the back, I want to say it torques to about 47 pound-feet of torque. But what you're going to want to do is, just like with the strut bolt, you had to apply load to the system. Same thing. You're going to use your floor jack, jack it up some to where it's got the load on it like it would be on the tire, and then you're going to tighten that control arm bolt to 47 pound-feet. And then, let's see, I want to say that one was like 103, something like that. Those are these, what is it, a pitman arm, something like that. Those bolts, I think, torque at about 135. This guy, oh shoot, my Explorer used to be about 165. I'll have to look up the torque spec for this. But when I get ready, I'll tell you what the torque spec is for that. So, and there's a lot of other little miscellaneous ones you can look up the torque specs for, but most of the time I do it by feel, and just the really important ones I make sure to torque. Otherwise, hand torque. But we'll get it. I'll be right back to where it's almost done. Okay, to get the proper torque on this without putting the wheel on, the weight of the car on it, you can wedge a pry bar in there just like that. And you see I put one of the lug nuts on to protect it. Now I've already torqued it down, but just show you on camera. Yeah, there it goes. Alright, so there, now that axle nut is torqued, 181 foot-pounds, and we should be good to go. I'm going to have to look up the torque specs on these. There's a great video by a channel called the TRQ channel. They have all the torque specs, and they actually do this in a proper shop. But I'm just trying to show you guys how to do this like with hand tools and in your driveway. So that's how to torque the axle nut. And then I'm going to get the torques done on all these. Basically, with these nuts here, you torque them to spec, and then you just torque, and if the hole doesn't line up with one of these little slots, you just turn it to the next hole just so slightly. Don't back it off. Turn it to the next one, then run your cotter pin through. And you should be good. Do that to your guy here, here, and here. And before you torque these top and bottom ones, you're going to want to put that one in, because if not, your whole assembly is just going to swing side to side. So make sure you get that guy in first, then start torquing on those two, okay? Okay, so make sure you got all your guys here, top, bottom, and left, torqued down to at least 45 pound-feet. I think the spec's about 43, but I just round it to 45. And then before you go throwing your rotor and everything on, you're going to want to take a chisel and a hammer and peen that nut on right there where that little slot is. Just take your chisel and give it a good whack right there to set that after it's torqued. And then once that's done, caliper back on, put your screws back in, throw your brake back on, and you should be good to go. Really not much more than that. But I'll give you guys an exit with everything else you're going to need, like a complete tool list and all that. But I really appreciate everyone watching. Watch till the end, please. Okay, folks. Well, there you have it. Everything's all torqued on and ready to go. I'm not putting those tires on yet because I'm going to rotate them with the back tires till I go down to the tire shop and get some new ones. But that should about do it. I think I put most of the torque specs in here. If not, there's a great video by TRQ for the lower control arm here on YouTube that has all those torque specs in their video as well, in case I missed one. And for this job, as far as tools go, you're going to need just about everything from a 10 to a 19, with the exceptions of a 16, I believe. I don't think I used a 16, but I used, or no, I used an 11. I used a 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, and a 19. All of those. Your axle socket's going to be a 32 millimeter, or hold on, 36 millimeter, correction, sorry about that. This little box end wrench came in handy for the sway bar link, chisel for peening your nuts on, big hammer for obvious reasons, pry bar to hold your lugs in, or to hold your hub in place when you're tightening it on. But that's about it. All done with basic hand tools. Oh, and I did use my 1/2-inch impact for some of this, but not a lot of it. I mainly use that for taking the big nut off, which can be a pain without an impact like that. But I just do that just because it's a lot easier that way. So you can do all this in your driveway with some pretty basic tools. So please subscribe for more content like this. And I really hope everybody likes the video. Comment, please tell me what you think. Tell me if I missed anything, if I fucked anything up. Just let me know. Thank you.